All right, this is Mike from Mike's Weather Page. This will be our first ever audio podcast testing the waters as we move forward into 2020, 2021. So today is August 11th, and we are watching an area of disturbed weather in the middle Atlantic. It is called Invest 95. The NHC has marked this area at 90% chance it could develop. The overnight models showed that it has increased the convection and has a little bit of spinach. It's kind of got that look. It definitely has a convection ball above it. So the NHC at any time might designate this as a system, tropical depression, tropical storm. So it's in the middle Atlantic. Timing for our Eastern Caribbean friends would be this weekend as our system turns a little bit to the north and kind of treks a little bit more on a northwest bend towards the Virgin Islands, Eastern Caribbean, Northern Lesser Antilles. Most modeling suggests that our system is going to weaken some as there's going to be a lot of shear ahead. And the NHC is continuing to note that even though we have a small window for development in the next day or two, we could see whatever forms weaken by the time it gets to the islands. So no huge threat right now is past the islands, but of course if you're listening down that way, it could still be an organized system. A couple of models are suggesting even below 1,000 millibars. So it is, the stronger this gets today, tomorrow, and Thursday, it'll take longer for this to weaken by the time it gets to the islands. So, modeling doesn't suggest this thing is going to be anything to worry about it, but as we know with 2020, anything can happen, and just keep an eye on it. The general trend with spaghetti models have it turning north of the islands, possibly affecting the islands a little bit north of Puerto Rico, with an eventual turn towards the north, maybe towards Bermuda. The reason being long-term weather watching is we have a stalled front across the U.S., across the southeast. This will be bringing up rain chances on the east coast later in the week into the weekend. And there are some models hinting that some low pressure might actually form over the Gulf Stream at the middle part end of the weekend. And this is something we've seen all year with these tails of fronts that spawn tropical systems and get a little spinach. But what this is going to do is actually open up the door a little bit, as we discuss a lot, and give an opening for whatever happens with Invest 95 to pull more to the north. So if this thing were to form, there is a weakness between the Bermuda High would allow this to go more north and maybe just out to sea. So we see a lot of these systems recurve. It's all timing issue with an approaching front, and we do have an approaching front this weekend. So if you're worried about the worst case scenario and it does form and you live in the U.S., it does appear that this is going to recurve. So, and in the short term, obviously we're watching it. It does show signs that it's trying to develop, and it does have a window of opportunity to try to develop. And we'll just keep one eye on it, as I say. So down the road, the big story yesterday, we'll rewind here. We'll go back to the future a little bit with Marty and Doc. But Back to the Future yesterday, we had an amazing Derecho event, they call it, which is straight line wind storm squall line, basically. And it went through Iowa into Chicago and Illinois and even parts to the south some. We've already had 800 storm reports from yesterday, mainly wind, few tornadoes, but winds were clocked at 100 mile an hour plus several locations, including Iowa into Chicago. A lot of damage. So that was a big storyline, and it could be the largest single day storm event history of 2020 from this Derecho yesterday. So they're recovering. A lot of cornfields, unfortunately, were flattened. A lot of farms. A lot of trees down, a million plus without power. It's still here today, a day later. And then we still have people affected by Isaiah up in the northeast with the unexpected continuing strength of Isaiah as it traveled north into Jersey, New York, upwards, Connecticut. So still folks dealing with power outages there. So 2020 has been a crazy week with weather, with the northern part of the U.S. dealing with unexpected wind damages and tornadoes. Lots of power outages. So big props to our line workers, the line men and women, especially sponsor of our site, Sparks Energy. They're up there trying to restore a lot of power to those folks. Hopefully they get it back on track. So looking long range again in the state, short, few days ahead. We got a stalled front, little increased weather across the south and east. No biggie. Down the road, the tropics are picking up, maybe a wave coming off of Africa in 8, 9, 10 days. A little higher up. Little more middle Africa coming across closer to the Cape Verde Islands. Some of the models are picking up. That could be our next spot to watch. And it's already a low pressure over Africa now. So that's kind of how we watched the Isaiah form, and with already having mid-level vorticity spin. So if you're looking ahead, what could be next? We could be watching another wave from Africa. And really all eyes are focused on the MJO, which is talked a lot about on our show. But the MJO is a cycle of energy basically that circles the Earth 30 to 60 days, and you have a negative phase, positive phase. We're kind of in a little negative phase now, and a negative phase promotes sinking of air and dryness and lack of thunderstorms. When we get into a positive stage of the MJO, which is coming soon towards the end of August, it actually helps promote convection, uprising of air, which has been known to enhance thunderstorm activity. And that's why the forecasts have been predicting higher average systems stretching into the Greek alphabet. We could actually be naming storms past W and going into the Greek alphabet with the new Colorado State University and NOAA forecast that came out last week. So, it's not a dead season by any means. End of July, early August, usually slow. We are nearing the ramp up of the season. Vertical instability has been reported on as being extremely low, which is the amount of shear in the Atlantic. We're leaning toward a neutral La Nina stage, which is basically cooler Pacific waters yield less shear across the Atlantic. So that is one condition that will enhance our season here. And then another factor is the waters are 1 to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius above normal. Can't deny that. And lastly, they're even looking at the amount of rains that have been falling in Africa. And Africa so far the last few months has had one of their wettest monsoon seasons on record. And what that could mean is that it could spit off these tropical systems into the Atlantic, which begin our wave trains season that we typically see. So, that's it in a nutshell. We're watching Invest 95 today, and we'll see if the NHC designates it. Long range, it has a lot of shear to deal with and some dry air ahead. Models are not supporting any strong development, but as we know, we got to watch these things in real time and watch any trends or any changes that are ahead. So that's about it. So thanks for listening on our first ever weather podcast. We're going to try to keep these right around 10 minutes or so. And I will be tweaking it, and obviously without looking at graphics, I'll try to appeal to the audio listeners here at Drunk Donkey Nation, and keep you abreast of what's happening in the weather world. So, thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.